Hello everyone, my name is James Toll and I'm an instructor here in the Writer Studio. And in this video, I'm going to address a few questions about some core concepts in English 102. Questions that will be answered in this video are: what are the outcomes and habits of mind? What is the role of these concepts in the course? And what is the relationship between the outcomes, habits of mind, and a concept we call transfer? The Writer Studio uses some core concepts called the WPA outcomes and habits of mind, which you can find in the course syllabus. If you click here on the sidebar, you can find the syllabus, and if you scroll down, you will find the course learning outcomes. These are frameworks that have been established by professional groups of writing faculty to provide clear guidelines for first-year composition courses. The outcomes and habits are different types of things, so let's talk about them individually. So the course learning outcomes are descriptions of abilities and skills you should learn and improve upon throughout the course. In other words, they're goals. You might not achieve total mastery of these goals in 8 weeks, but you should feel much more comfortable with them when you finish the course. If at any point in the course you don't feel like you're learning these things, please let your instructor know. The list and description of the outcomes is long, and it's easy to get overwhelmed by this material. But the thing is that it's likely you already have some knowledge of and experience with these outcomes. Let's just take one of the bullet points under rhetorical knowledge here, which says, develop facility in responding to a variety of situations and contexts, calling for purposeful shifts in voice, tone, level of formality, design, medium, and/or structure. This is a mouthful, but really it's a concept that you likely use every day. For example, when speaking to a boss at work, or maybe an older family member, many people often make a purposeful shift into a more formal tone, and they might use more recognizably polite language, and so forth. Another example, you might also choose to write your boss a note or email rather than texting them, depending on your relationship. And this is an example of a purposeful choice of medium. So if you scroll down, you will find a list of the habits of mind. There are actually different versions of the habits of mind in books and on the internet, and maybe you're already familiar with these. This particular version is also endorsed by a number of writing councils and administrators as a set of skills intended to help you become a better writer and scholar. Most of the habits are fairly straightforward, like responsibility or creativity, right? But some, like metacognition, are a little bit more complex. But we actually use metacognition all the time, even if we don't have the words to describe it. Metacognition is basically just thinking about thinking, and thinking about why we think what we think. And in some sense, we do this all the time. For example, maybe you've been at a gathering with friends, and you say something that didn't come out the way you intended it, or it had a different effect than you intended. And maybe you might have thought to yourself, why did I say it that way? This is a very basic form of metacognition, and one challenge in this course is to apply this principle to our writing. One way that the outcomes and the habits are used in this course is to give you a framework to constantly refer to as you proceed. Every assignment we do is related to at least one of the WPA outcomes, and every assignment naturally makes use of one or more of the habits of mind. If you get stuck or lost at a certain point, returning to these concepts may help give you a stronger sense of direction and purpose in the course. These concepts are also used as a framework for the reflective writing that you'll do in this course. In these reflections, we ask you to write about the outcomes and habits that you're the most comfortable with and the most challenged by. So it's a really good idea to get a strong handle on these concepts now. Beyond the reflections, however, it's always good for your own growth as a writer and student to think about how you can make use of these skills and habits outside of the course. In this course, we often refer to and ask you to reflect on a concept called transfer. Maybe this is a concept you're familiar with, and maybe you're not, but it likely describes something you already do regularly. Transfer is just an academic term for the idea that we take habits and skills from one area of life and apply them in another, even if they're differences. To give you an easy example, team sports offer a number of transferable skills: collaboration, discipline, recovering from a setback like a loss or injury, even highly complex skills like recognizing patterns of play, tactics, or team formations. These are all skills that can potentially be transferred from one sport to another, or even to activities outside of sports. One very concrete example involves dual sport athletes. The person in the image here is Bo Jackson, a star in both professional football and professional baseball. No doubt there were skills and habits that helped him in both sports, despite the fact they're very different. In a similar way, the outcomes and habits of mind are skills or habits you'll want to develop in this class, but can apply in other contexts, whether other classes or other writing contexts. And throughout the course, you want to be thinking about ways that the work you're doing in this class, as well as the course concepts, can relate to ways you communicate in other classes, or even in completely different contexts that we might not think about as involving writing. So when thinking about examples for your reflections, writing doesn't always have to refer to more formal writing, like writing essays or reports. For example, in the past, many students have written about how they use rhetorical knowledge when texting, writing posts on social media, or composing emails to their bosses. Students have written about the creativity they use in writing poems, or stories, or fan fiction from themselves or their friends. Students have discussed the notes they write to themselves or co-workers to stay organized at work, thus practicing responsibility. One student wrote about how she used critical thinking, research skills, and creativity to research and make inquiries about purchases on eBay. And if you write in another language, this will probably give you many opportunities to discuss transfer. So I encourage you to be creative when thinking about the different kinds of writing that you might do on a regular basis, and how this might affect or be affected by the concepts and skills in this class. That's all for now. If you have any questions about the outcomes, habits, transfer, or anything else, definitely contact your instructor or writing mentor. Thank you.